everybody. This is episode number 31 of Balls to the Wall. I'm your host, KennyMatthews, and my sidekick co-host, Billy Martin Jr. How are you doing this afternoon, buddy?
Hey, I got baseball on TV, so I'm happy.
Man, I'll tell you, the Major League, in my office, 213, it doesn't get changed very often up here. So it is nice. The great game is in a second week. We're going to start doing like a little segment here where we'll just kind of call it baseball nuggets. We'll just throw out little things we pick up throughout the week. Sometimes we'll throw some stats out. Sometimes we'll throw some stories out. Got a couple things I want to bounce off of you, Billy Martin Jr., that I saw last week. Unwritten rules of baseball that we'll talk about that I thought that was pretty funny last Tuesday night out in San Francisco. Anyhow, we do appreciate all you guys listening to us. And if you want to help us out, please subscribe and press the like button, comment button on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. That will help us out. We really need the comment to help with that also. It can be an emoji. It doesn't always have to be a sentence, but we would like to have some sentences and comments from you guys. We don't have to always send us the middle emoji, middle finger emoji, to us. You can send us, thumbs up, hey, nice stuff, But we do believe that would really help us out. I know a lot of people like to know how they can help us out, but if you can subscribe to us and make a comment, we would greatly appreciate it because we definitely want to bring material that we think you guys would be interested in, obviously. You know that Billy and I have passion for Major League Baseball. We will talk, other sports too. We do have the NHL playoffs that'll be coming up in about 2 weeks. We got the NBA playoffs that just started late last week with the play-in games, and obviously we're enrolling now this week with the NBA playoffs, which seemed early for me. I'm used to kind of the NBA kind of catching my banner like around May 1st or so. It seemed a little early that we had NBA games before tax day. That did seem a little weird to me, but that's okay. We're good. It's here and it's rolling. Billy, I do want to say this though. I read a stat this morning about home runs are down in the first 2 weeks of the Major League Baseball season. And that's even with the universal DH, in the National League here. And it's the first time that home runs have been down since 2017. Do you equate that to more or less it's still cold outside, Billy, in some places? The shortened spring training, seeing so many different pitchers in a game now, so your starters are maybe going 4, maybe 5 innings, so you're getting to go through 6 maybe relievers in a game. So do you equate it to that? Or do you equate it that the pitching's getting any better? I'm not going to say that the pitching's getting any better. I will say the arms are livelier. I will say that for sure. But, I thought that was really, really telling because if you turn on TV, all you hear about is the home run rates going up all the time. And I thought that was kind of interesting that, the first 10 or 11 games, that's not necessarily the case. And is the humidor playing a factor in that since it's in every ballpark now?
Well, I think all the above play some of the factor on it, along with the fact that hitters are usually behind the pitchers with this shortened spring and all that stuff. And it's obviously very early in the year.
Sure.
2, with 2020's shortened season, and even the goofiness of last year, guys' routines have been different. Okay.
To say the least.
So put it all together with the cold factor, with so many weird things. Let's see where we're at mid-season, and then we'll have a clue. Because obviously they talk about they took a little juice off the balls, and maybe that's all it is. But I think it's really a little bit of everything mixed into it.
I was calling it the humidor effect, that we had at the Rock for all those years. And people don't know, now you have humidors at all of the major league parks now where their balls are at this year. Again, it's probably because it has been a shortened generally right about now is when you're wrapping up spring training. So, these guys are still a couple weeks behind the 8 ball, I think, in prep work coming up here for sure. And with them having those expanded rosters, you're able to shuffle in so many pitchers now when you expand it around. You got some teams that had 16 active pitchers, so you could throw a lot at somebody in a 3-game set, when you had 16 pitchers. So, but yeah, I just thought that was kind of telling, because I just, you always hear baseball, oh, too many home runs. And I'm thinking, well, that's not not early this year. That's not the case. But I would love for the game to go back to where we cared about putting the ball in play instead of striking out. I guess, as you and I both have said, is until owners stop rewarding that type of player, we're going to have this in our game. You have to be, if you're a player, you're going, well, shoot, if I could hit 38 home runs and bat 225 or 30, I still get 15 or $16 million. Why am I worried about pushing the ball to the right side of the infield? Why am I worried about trying to put the ball in play? I can't argue against the players for it. I just think that the 32 owners got to be smarter than that and say, hey, we're not going to have collusion, but we don't need to be paying $25 million for a guy to swing and miss 190 times every year and run into 40, goes over the fence.
Oh, I always bring up Joey Gallo, because to me, he's the poster boy, the quintessential poster boy of what we're talking about. And he's also got a great arm and pretty damn handy defensively.
And
because really
runs the base as well.
Runs good. You can play him anywhere in the outfield. You can play him at both corners on the infield, and he's not going to kill you. And I'm sorry, I want a hitter that steps into the box with a job to do. And that job is different each at bat.
Yes.
Not, hey, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. No, I want the guy that says, oh, this time I just need to get on base. This time I need to move a runner over. This time I need to knock a guy in. Yeah. This time I need to see a bunch of pitches, because I'm a leadoff hitter, and the guys behind me need to see what this guy's got.
Yeah.
It's and I miss that. I really do. I miss that mentality, and I hope, with the excitement that Stephen Kwan is bringing to the game, right? He sees almost 120 of his first major league pitches, swing and miss one time.
That's a couple months for Gallo.
Right?
I'm glad you brought up Joey Gallo, because I was going to go on a rant about him today, because he is the epitome of what I am really upset about. I read this article today from the New York area, and it says, StatCat indicates the outfielder's exit velocity is 97th percentile, 95th percentile expected slugging percentage. Okay. If you're only hitting it 1 out of 15 times and you're squaring it up, okay, you're going to have a 97th percentile. Listen to this. He's batting 138, 286 on base percentage, a 138 slash line, no extra hits, 11 strikeouts, and 35 plate appearances. That is mind-boggling to me. And Billy, now we're getting a half year of his work now in the pinstripes. Now they made that trade August of last year, end of July, from the Rangers. He batted under 200 last year throughout the second half of the season and in the playoffs last year. And now he's batting 138. I'm done with him. I'm officially done with Joe Galloway. I'm not going to bitch about him anymore on this podcast. He is what he is. He is a swing and miss windmill, period. And every now and then he cuts through the zone and barrels one up and hits it 450 feet. And we stand around and say, that's Mickey Mantle. And then I go, don't even put Mickey Mantle in the same place if Joey Gallo takes a step back. I said, that's a disservice to a man that's been buried for many years. He's not Mickey Mantle. He's not Mickey Mantle in 1967. Mickey Mantle's a better player than he was in 67 when he can barely run the bases then at that point in time. So yes, I'm done with Gallo, but that is asinine. And think about this, Billy. He can't pick a worse time to come out with numbers like that because this is his contract year coming up. He just finished his second arbitration year last year. Mm-hmm. Owners, don't reward this, please. Please don't reward this.
Well, somebody will. And don't forget where he's playing.
Yeah,
he is getting mercilessly booed by Yankee fans. Okay, so never fully understood. Do you really think that helps? Because that's never helped. But so that's the guy. And to ever mention him, like you said, Mickey Mantle, who I guarantee you would have hit against you.
Yes.
I guarantee you, and here's proof that he would. Mickey would bunt. If he was 0 for 7 or 8, he would lay down a bunt because he hated going 0 for 10. And he was so damn fast that from the left side, that was a hit.
And that's even after his numerous knee injuries, he was still bunting. He bunted in 50 when he won the Triple Crown in 54. Was it 54 or 56? I can't remember which one year, but and then the thing about it is Mickey, yes, they did shift on him, but Mickey had enough. He knew that the Yankees policed their own lineup then. If you didn't do it the right way, you had to deal with it in the clubhouse afterwards. There's no accountability like that now, though. There's not. No. Too much money involved.
Nope, there's not. You're right. It was when the inmates run the asylum. It's a completely different atmosphere, and Mickey would have done that. Mickey would have hit against the shift. But here's the craziest stat: Joey Gallo has less than 5 his entire career.
Unreal.
I mean, how does that not happen in his sleep? I mean, he's got that kind of power. How does he not absolutely run into just a few pop flies?
He's a fly ball hitter. That's the other thing. It's not like he's freaking George Brett throwing out line drives everywhere. He's a fly ball hitter. I swear, I think back to just going, yesteryear's players got to be going, wow, if I would have just been born now, what does Dave Kingman make these days? At least Kingman could bat about 225. Like I said, he had a great arm when he did play in the outfield, but it'd be a universal DH now. So, I mean, does Big Poppy think he can come back and play now just because, hey, I could run into 35 balls at Fenway and probably drive in 85 runs? Can I get 22 million? I don't get it, man. When I watched my pathetic Yankees stink up the joint in Camden Yards last weekend, losing to the lowly Orioles, and they only put up 6 stinking runs in 29 innings against Baltimore. And I swung all that swung and miss crap, not hitting with people in scoring position again because they strike out. You don't get quality at bats. And I go, Cashman, we've seen this for the last 4 years. We need to change the philosophy. So if that means we got to let Judge go, as great as he is, he's a part of the problem. And you're going to sign him for 9 or 10 more years to go with Stanton? If they don't hit it out of the ballpark, they don't score. That's the problem.
Yeah, and there's, like you said, nobody has a job. They don't look at it. They are not changing their approach with two strikes.
No.
Never. It's, and that's where the analytics guys have to kind of come back towards old school. We're going too far that way. Whoever puts it together the right way, I don't think
that
Aaron
last
Boone.
week. You mentioned, I thought you made a great point on how you would try to contort your baseball team. I thought you made an excellent point about, defense, pitching, and guys getting on base, hitting line drive, type players, don't need any big boppers, all that other stuff. Just, 1980s Cardinals type teams, putting ball, hit and run, the whole shooting. Would baseball even know how to defend hit and run anymore?
Thank you. Yes.
I mean,
or, laying down bunts like crazy. Who even defends bunts? Who knows how to defend bunts like you're supposed to? Go watch. I mean, you still see it at high school level, the college level, but that stuff disappears in the minor leagues to some degree now. And man, what are guys going to do when you're laying down a bunt, not a sacrifice bunt, a push bunt, a bunt for a hit with first and third?
Right.
How much chaos is that going to cause? How many runs are going to be scored in that moment? How many times are they going to launch a ball over the first baseman's head? And now you've got a guy on second base and 2 runs scored. I mean, somebody's going to get old school with it and go back to those days. And everybody's going to say, oh, what a genius. These people are so smart.
And wouldn't it have to be some kind of a skip like Tony La Russa, somebody that's got so many skins on the wall that says, that way people wouldn't second guess it. I don't think that, Gabe Kapler really could be the one that comes out and does that because he doesn't have enough, behind it where people would buy in. Yeah. But with Tony La Russa, he's multi-World Series champion. He's a Hall of Fame skip. Yep. Those guys that say, well, hey, man, he knows something. He knows how to win, obviously. So maybe we do change our approach. But it's
sure, and yeah, a Tony, a Buck, one of those guys,
yes,
freaking
Buck Showalter. For the life of me, how was he out of baseball for 4 years? I know.
Well, I'll tell you exactly why. Because he was not going to buy into
analytics,
the total analytics package.
Yeah.
I think the Red Sox are doing it right. I think Cora has the right to veto.
Yes. I've heard him speak with Chris Russo about that yes, we have the information available, but I am allowed to do gut, go with gut or go with the feel of the game. And he's explained that a couple times on that show. And I thought that was great. I mean, I agree with you there wholeheartedly.
Well, so, I mean, do you think the Yankees hire Aaron Boone, who's never managed at any level, if he's making any calls?
No, because they wanted to go fully analytical on it. They wanted to go with analytics, even though they are part of the problem with the analytics. It never changed the philosophy. I mean, that's the thing I don't get. I go, information is great. And I know you and I, we're information hounds, stats and all the other kind of stuff. But it's just, you got to go with the feel and the flow. I mean, we're still pissed off at Kershaw last week. You pitched those last 6 outs. I mean, really, you were under your pitch total that you had set before the game when you took him out. So, I mean, the thing about that is one thing I was thinking about this. Baseball needed a perfect game. It really did. I mean, because opening day was lackluster. The ratings were down because it started late. people couldn't really get into the Jackie Robinson deal the way they wanted to because Chavez Ravine was on Amazon Prime. So if you didn't have that, you couldn't see it. So you would have had a perfect deal last week in the middle of the doldrums of last week. Kershaw pitches perfect game, comes back from injury from last year. Goodwill. It's the entertainment business still, correct?
Yeah. Well, at least it's even news if he goes down swinging.
Right.
You know?
Yes. It takes a perfect game 7 2/3. It's a great story.
Yeah. Yep. You know,
but now
I'd much rather.
We're talking about meathead Dave Roberts at 150 years of baseball as the only coach, the only skip to take out somebody in a perfect game after 7 innings. And he's done it twice. Twice.
Both lefties. And I didn't see the first one. I don't know about you, but I'm saying no. I'm a lot bigger than you, Skip. I'm staying out here. We got a 6-run lead. Let's tell the other team, name your pitch. I'll throw whatever you want. I've only got 10 pitches left. So here comes fastballs. You know, if you don't swing at it, I might dome you because
it was getaway day, and those Twins they were swinging at everything that day to try to get out of there. 38 degrees with a 25-mile-an-hour wind. And you mean to tell me that you couldn't have run Kershaw out there for another 10 to 15 pitches? I ain't buying it.
That's the way he was swinging. You're good. That good. Everything's in sync. Your mechanics are great. You're feeling good. I mean, and I literally really would have said, all right, guys, we're throwing nothing but fastballs. Here you go. Let's see what you can do.
And I thought you made the best point of it all. If anybody's earned that right to go back out on that mound, it's Kershaw.
Oh.
I mean, we're not talking about a second-year guy or a third-year guy that's, a number 3 or number 4 starter. He's been the face of the Dodgers for the last 10 to 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
I just hate the way the numbers have muddied up the game. I mean, it's trickling down now to the high school. I see people doing, even in softball now, you got these numbers on this, that, going third time through the order, all that other stuff. Man, I am so tired of seeing it. I mean, I would have loved for somebody to tell Ferguson Jenkins that this is the third time to go through the order. Will you please come off the mound, please? Or Jim Bibby.
Right? Oh, yeah. You kidding me? I mean, my father was tough, but I'm sorry. They were going to throw him back in the dugout on that deal.
There would have been a scrap going on. I don't know if it would have happened on the mound, but it would have happened in between innings for sure.
It might have happened on the mound because it sounded like John Wayne. That'll be the day. Look at Mad Max yesterday.
Oh, you did?
Mad Max had a no-hitter through 5.
That's right. Yeah.
And he got 9 pitches. I mean,
we don't talk about Mad Max much about here, but there's a guy, for a pitcher, that's a guy that's fulfilled
102 pitches for Mad Max yesterday.
5 innings.
Maybe that's why he's getting more money per season than anybody else in the game.
Well, I was just about to say that's the one pitcher in my lifetime that I think has exceeded his huge contracts both times now. A lot of times these pitchers get these 7, 8, 9, 10-year deals, and the last 2 or 3 of them, dude, you're just like, oh my God, trying to hang on. Mad Max, man, has more than earned his, and he is. What Mad Max is what Yankee fan wants Garrett Cole to be.
Yep.
And right now, Garrett Cole is nowhere. He is not Mad Max. Mad Max stops losing streaks. He beats aces and he's nails in the playoffs. That's not Garrett Cole right now.
It's just one of those deals. Like, if you had one game, if it was game 7 for you, and you could pick any starting pitcher, who are you giving the ball to? For me, it's not even a question. I'm not talking about for a 10-year career. I'm talking about one game right now. Max, here you go.
Absolutely, because I know he's going to miss bats, and he's going to go deep into the game. He's not going to give me 1 2/3 and walk 6 guys like Garrett Cole did the other night. He's not going to do that ever on you. No. So, yes, I would take Mad Max in New York. And I'll tell you another guy that I would take too. That is Justin Verlander. You give me Justin Verlander in that side because he's got some moxie too. He's got that, you know what? He's got that old school approach in throwing. This is my part of the play. This is my part of the play. I'm going to throw to these areas. Hit it if you can. And that's what I like about those kind of guys that go straight after players and say, hey, my stuff against your stuff. That's old school.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. And, you know, the way the game's trending, how many guys will we be talking about like that 10 years from now?
Yeah.
How many will there be starting pitchers, or will they all be openers? You know,
the days of the 300 game pitcher winning are over. It's bullpen. The bullpen's going to take care of that. They're going to blow too many of those opportunities for those starters to win games now because of it. And I hate that, because you're going to have stats that don't warrant them in the Hall of Fame against Hall of Fame guys from before. And people are going to go, well, how did you get this guy in? Well, if he got in, then why can't we get Jamie Morris in here? Jamie Moyer in here. He's got almost 300 wins, and you're going to let this guy that got 189 in? You know, you're going to start having people argue that because of it. and Jamie Moore pitched for about 36 years, I think. You know, but Jim Cott, he just got him through the Veterans Committee, and he's a bit of a compiler. I mean, he's got some Hall of Fame years, don't get me wrong, but I said he pitched an awful long time. And I never thought of Jim Cott as, let's say, an elite pitcher at any time during his career. I thought he was a very good pitcher, maybe Don Sutton-esque. You know, he's a very, very, very good pitcher, but they pitched a long, long time. So they compiled a lot of numbers, benchmark numbers. They're going to get into the Hall of Fame. But I don't think that Jim Cott was a better pitcher than Mad Max or Justin Verlander. Don't think so.
No, I think you're right. You look at what's going on today and think about in June of 1974, Nolan Ryan threw 235 pitches against the Boston Red Sox. He made his next start, however, only 3 days rest. Excuse me. Oh, and he won that game. And then he went on for another 19 seasons. And in case y'all don't remember, was still throwing gas at the end of his career.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Hey, buddy, I need you to come on. He's just like, ain't happening, little buddy. That ain't happening.
Man, that is great.
What I did to that fella that threw a bat at me. Did you see what I did to that Ventura fella when he came out here? I ain't leaving, Skip.
Yeah, Robin Ventura thought there was going to be a different fate coming out to that bump that one night out in Arlington.
I will give. I've watched that over again so many times because I happen to be sitting with our mutual friend Jim Dent, who is going to be a guest on the show soon. Yes. I was watching that game with Jim in the ballpark in the press room, and we're literally two of the only guys in there watching. And I was already assuming that game was over and said, let's go to the press club where they serve adult beverages.
Beverages, of course.
And our friend
And Jim
Jim
couldn't wait to go with you.
No, Jim was being the adult in that moment and said, no, let's couple more innings, let's wait. We would have missed that because where we were, we had all the different camera angles. And not only was that fight fun to watch, but the fights afterwards, that was a giant brawl.
Yes.
And I mean, it's funny, we were talking about, Cora. Joey Cora in that fight jumped and dove onto the pile on his back, like he was jumping in the pool. Whee! And he just landed on his back. And Kevin Kennedy grabbed him and threw him down on his head, which I love because that is the kind of crap that gets guys hurt.
Right. Double K.
But the funny part was, if you really watch Ventura, as he's running out there, he's mad at first, right? He's got that look in his face, and then all of a sudden you can see it hitting. Wow, I'm charging Nolan Ryan.
I'm committed.
Yeah, and I'm already there. And then his foot hits the mound that he's also not expecting because he's locked eyes with Nolan. And when you hit the ground and you're expecting to step a little further, it makes your hands and head fall down.
Yeah. And that falls right
and that's
into
what
the
happened.
uppercut.
Yeah, and Nolan said, "Oh, thanks, little buddy. I'll take that head and beat the crap out of it for a little while." And, my point is,
the target lowered perfectly for old Nolan.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm not saying Nolan still wouldn't have beat him up, but he made it a lot easier. That's for sure.
Yes, he did. There was one baseball note I wanted to say. I wanted to give credit to Major League Baseball this past weekend. Baseball, Gil Hodges Jr. and his sister Cynthia Hodges, they got to throw the opening pitch in the Met game last Friday for Gil Hodges being able to go to the Hall of Fame finally this year from the Veterans Committee. I thought that was pretty cool to do that. And for Gil Hodges Jr. to have to be able to go out there and throw it, and his sister that are still alive, I thought that was pretty cool because that's a guy I always thought kind of took it into shorts about the Hall of Fame. I thought he was kind of the poster child for a number of those years. Obviously, your dad played against him a number of times. And
and with him. Yep.
And so I thought that was really cool and that because that, and then they also, the Jackie Robinson Broadway. Did you see that? They unveiled the Jackie Robinson Broadway in New York City this past weekend. Manford and those guys were there, Joe Torre and everything. Thought that was pretty cool on Jackie Robinson Day to do that last Saturday. Obviously, he means, love that picture. Obviously Jackie means a lot, but especially being from Brooklyn, doing that in the New York area. I mean, you got Moose, you got Scourin, you got, is that Whitey on the right?
Mickey
Blanchard.
Bill.
Yep.
That's Bill, Dad, and Hank.
Yeah, Hank Bauer.
Yep.
Hank Bauer. I forgot that Hank Bauer actually coached, was the skipper of the Baltimore Orioles that won in the 60s. I had forgotten that until I saw that the other day. Did not realize that he had gotten a ring as a skip, with the Orioles. But anyhow, I didn't want to get off course there. And then I was going to say, what was the other team? Oh, this is what I thought we should talk about, the unwritten rules of baseball.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it was. Our San Francisco shortstop, Mauricio Dublin, lays down a bunt in a game in the bottom of the sixth inning last Tuesday night against the Padres. And at the time, the score was 11-2 Giants over the Padres. So he gets to first base, and boy, you would have thought all hell broke loose from the dugouts. Everybody in the San Diego Padres dugout was yelling at him, calling him Bush League, all this or that. I understand the unwritten rule, why it's there. I understand why they think that maybe that's kind of cheap or whatever, but it's the bottom of the sixth, Billy. Now, I know I looked up the stats, or I heard them this morning. only 7 times in 153 years has somebody come back from a 9-run deficit after the 6th inning. I understand it's only happened 7 times, so about once every 30 years it's going to happen. But do you want to be the team that it does happen? I mean, if it's the 7th and 8th or 9th inning, I kind of get that. Well, it wouldn't be the 9th inning. The 7th and 8th inning, I kind of get it. But you still have a ball game in the 6th, don't we? With bullpens the way they come in and it's early. I didn't have a huge problem with it.
Well, okay. Only question I have about that moment was he bunting against the shift?
No, he was not.
It was just a
it was
straight
regular. It was bunt hit. It was a bunt hit. It was right down the line at the third baseman. I mean, third baseman tried to make a play on it.
Okay. Well, yeah, that's
the question.
But in the old days, there wouldn't be a ton of mouthing.
Right.
It would just be, oh, okay, guess what happens when you get up next?
Well, that's what I guess maybe I'll have
Or
more of a problem.
You either hit the guy after him.
Yes.
But personally, I have a problem with that. And that's a whole nother tangent for me. I don't like the next guy rule as get the mofo that did rule.
Right. Yes.
Because
that's what and you play in a division, you play him a bunch. So it's not like even if he doesn't come back up in that game, he comes up tomorrow or next week in San Diego. You hit him then. That's what I said. Why are we belly aching and bitching and moaning from the dugouts when it happens? Police the game on your own. High and tight, one in the forearm, one in the rib cage, and then he looks at you and says, why? Throwing down a bunt in the bottom of the 6th, up 9 runs.
Well, here's what I do. I look, if I'm the pitcher, I look over at him, I wink at my first baseman. My first baseman whispers in his ear, oh, by the way, you're going to wear one for that. Yes. Whispers it right in his ear. The umpire doesn't hear it. You're going to wear one for that. Now, here's the beauty of it. Is it his next at bat? Maybe.
I don't know when.
Maybe not. So I want him standing on his tippy toes that next at bat. And every time he looks like he's about to dig in, brush him back a little bit. And then maybe you wait till your second, third at bat, just when you start to get comfortable again, then boom. And if he says anything, you say, told you, go ahead and bunt next time. See what happens.
And I said, if you have a problem with the pitcher, you can always go Lenny Randall style, lay down a bunt and take a detour when you're running to first base towards the mound.
Absolutely. I was actually on the phone with Lenny earlier today. And we were talking about that moment. Right, of Lenny laying down that bunt. That pitcher was a known headhunter, okay, and hit a ton of guys. And they show him throwing inside at Lenny once. They actually show him throw behind him, right? And threw at him twice. That was Lenny. That's when Lenny said, all right, twice, okay, here we go. And literally one of the best hits I've ever seen on the baseball field. It's amazing that pitcher got up because Lenny was a pretty good athlete, not only in baseball, he played football too.
Tough guy.
And he was using his helmet in that shot.
And they got after it. And when he was blindsided, the pitcher's blindsided had enough toughness to say, hey, you're gonna get a piece of me still, you know.
Yep. And that was the prelude. That was the prelude to the last 10-cent beer night in baseball history. That fight carried over into the next series in Cleveland when Texas went there. And that was 10-cent beer night when all the fans were just hammered, attacking the players. And, well.
The only game that I know that the attendance went up from the 5th inning to the 7th inning. They were on the radio telling people to come back to the stadium to get in after the 5th because of 10-cent beer. That's great. And The great Tom Green said, he goes, I've never been to Woodstock, but I can't imagine that Woodstock had more weed in the stands than did at Municipal last night. Oh, I wish we just had footage
there
of
was
that.
a hit just like it. There was a hit just like it. Well, I mean, the opposite junior college game last week or 2 days ago. Excuse me. The pitcher, the hitter hit a home run.
I saw that. Just saw that.
And he was chirping to the pitcher on his way around the bases. The pitcher did his own version of letting hit. The pitcher's helmet and blows the helmet off the hitter in that one. And here it is, if you can see it.
Never seen something like that ever. I mean, he's on a dead sprint and absolutely decleats the runner as he's rounding third base on his home run trot. Oh. My brother showed me that today, and I said, "Oh my goodness, that's unbelievable! I've never seen anything like that before." Oh man, that's great. But yes, if we get a little more policing, we'll be just fine. You know, let the players police. We'll be just fine. You know, like somebody said, you don't want your skippers to always be the bad guys. You know, you need somebody in that clubhouse to be able to straighten out a lot of that shenanigans stuff, you know, all the time, you know. And I also think that if you had that, that brings team unity. You know, think about this. Think about all the A's that used to fight from the 71, 72, 73, 74 A's. Think about how many fights. They hated each other at times. But by gosh, if you did anything to one of them on that diamond, you were in trouble. You were in trouble.
That's the 50s Yankees.
Yes.
The teams my father played on. If you didn't run out a ground ball, if you didn't give all your effort on something, you weren't met by Hall of Fame man Case Stengel at the dugout. No, sir. There were 5 or 6 of your teammates waiting there for you going, what the hell?
What the hell?
You're jacking with our World Series money, dude.
Yep.
You know, it's a different ball game altogether. And can you imagine? I mean, like the last player you even heard a bunch of that about was a guy like a Will Clark.
Yes, yes.
The sheriff.
A red ass.
The sheriff, right? That was his nickname because he would do that. And to me, is that not the difference between him and a Palmeiro? Because
absolutely,
maybe that's why Will Clark's teams were winning World Series.
And why Will Clark was more like.
More like, even though he would get in your ass. Right?
It was respect. It was respect.
Yeah, you're right. It had nothing to do with like, it was respect.
Larry Bowa and Bud Harrelson, you had to have those kind of guys, you know, playing on your team. They packed a lot of heat in those small bodies, dude. And I said, but they garnered respect. I mean, you know, look at Hal McRae. I mean, he's a quiet individual, but I mean, you know, he policed the game. He policed his clubhouse. You didn't walk into that clubhouse and dogging it for a Kansas City Royals, and you didn't have Hal McRae in your face. You know, Don Baylor was another one. Very quiet and unassuming, but boy, you don't go out there and dog it between those diamonds, you're in trouble with them. Yeah, so yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's a better game when it was done that way for sure. Hey guys, we do appreciate you listening to us. I know you want to help us out. If you could subscribe to us on Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor. Just hit the like button and do a comment for us. We'd greatly appreciate it. Emojis, all that good stuff. Hey, any suggestions on topics, man? We would love to hear that also. Like we said, we're going to have a couple guests coming up, so that's going to be fun again. But yes, we really would like you guys to help us out there so we can keep bringing you guys fresh material. And Billy, I know we're getting a little late, but I do want to talk about one thing. We have spring football again. And I have to admit, I had a long day Saturday. I was doing a bunch of stuff. And I came home on Saturday night about 6:30, and I turned on, I believe it was on Fox. And there it is. Birmingham Stallions, as the Stallions are playing the New Jersey Stallions. And I go, that's right. It started this week. It caught me completely off guard. I have to admit, I didn't read as much in my book as I thought I was. I actually had my eyes on the boob tube a little bit. This was Saturday night. Now the crowd was not very good on Saturday night. I mean, it was, it was okay. I guess what should be expected. It's Easter weekend. I'm sure people, got family time, all the other stuff. Probably not spending money in a USFL football game on a Saturday in Birmingham. I just was stunned that it was here. And at first I thought it was the XFL. And then I remembered the XFL starts next spring. So do we have oversaturation of football in the spring now?
Well, there's one more you're forgetting. It's called Major League Football. And they've got a pretty good business model. I actually consulted with their ownership group, because my involvement with an independent league baseball team, the Texas Air Hogs, they wanted to pick my brain a little bit about how we made it work. And my advice to them was pay all players play whatever team you want to play for, because at the end of the day, it's not about making money, it's about getting to the NFL.
Right.
So
right.
So if you're going to be a minor league team, even though you're called Major League Football, if you're going to be a minor league team to the NFL, cater to that and be the league that gets the most guys going to the next level, because that's where everybody's going to go.
Sure.
But is it realistic to think they're going to really draw? I mean, sure they will at first. Right at first, everybody will be excited to go see the new team in their area and let's go check it out. But let's see if they're drawing 3 years from now.
Yeah, I think it said 3 million watched Saturday night, which Saturday night's not a very good TV watching night anyway, viewership, that's kind of the dark night of the week out of all of them. So I thought that was decent. Don't get me wrong. I was one of the 3 million if they did register me. But you looked at this and it said you got Fox, I believe. Fox, you got, is it ABC? So I can't remember. You got Fox Sports 1, Fox, got USA Network, and you got NBC and Fox, I believe, doing the game there. So there's a lot of TV networks that are, they're putting money into this product. It's not cheap to have announcers and production costs and do all the other stuff. So, the networks see something out of it. I just don't know if there's enough bodies out there living on this earth to put out a decent enough product for all these new teams. I'm not so sure we always talk about the quarterbacks. We don't have a whole lot of them anyway. So do we have another 25 sitting around somewhere that I don't know about that are going to make it to the NFL? Or do you maybe just dummy down the playbook and just enjoy the entertainment value for what it is? No expectations of these guys going higher, whatever, moving on. I don't know. The 28-24 game last Saturday. Yeah.
I think it's the key to credibility is having guys signed and getting to the big league. And that if you have that going on, your team's going to, I think, not only do well, it's going to draw the most. I'm saying that, which probably sounds almost like an oxymoron. Wait a minute, you're losing all your best players. How do you win? I watched a guy in the American Association named Joe Calfapietra. He's the manager of the Kansas City team in that league.
Yeah. I see him every week on Danny's show when we had him on last week. Good guy.
He wins the championship of that league and gets the most guys signed.
Yes.
And think about that. I mean, because every kid wants to go play there now.
Yes. That's what he said. It was him and another organization. I can't remember. They call them feeders to the MLB. I think it's his franchise. And another franchise, it was called feeders, I think is the term that he used. And he talked about how we lost, they lost 4 of their 5 starters at the beginning of the year that got called up to the major leagues through the year, and they still won it all. So, he talks about how he has to kind of balance the roster and how he does things and keeps guys on the side just in case, pitcher gets called up or whatever may be the case. But yeah, that's an excellent point. I mean, he's done a heck of a job there for that. I mean, no question, especially last year.
No, it's and you'd think, oh, it hurts so much, but then when you see the hope it gives to every guy in that dugout,
yep,
every kid in that clubhouse. Tommy's going to the big leagues. He didn't have to eat peanut butter anymore like we do.
And I think Danny made a good point on the podcast that I was listening with Joe. He said the guys are excited for their teammates to go, but they also said, hey, if the door is always open for them to come back, if it doesn't, the dream is not realized. So they're getting guys that come back to Kansas City now that, may have been cut from the Red Sox or the Twins or whatever, and they don't have a job right now. And a lot of that happened when the minor league system was out for that whole year. I believe that was 2021, correct? Yeah, 2021. So they got guys that came back for that reason at the beginning of the year. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's a revolving door at times. It's not just a door of exit. It's, you're welcome back, especially if you can still play. And so that's pretty cool. That is, I like that. But yes, so this time next year, we'll have a debate with 3 new football leagues starting in April.
We're already down to 2 again.
But listen, I got a great story, guys. I actually went to an XFL, the original. I went to a playoff game. The Chicago Enforcers played the Orlando Renegade in Soldier Field because my dear buddy Ron Meyer, the late Ron Meyer, he was the head coach of Chicago Enforcers, and one of my best friends was the offensive coordinator, Steve Endicott, who also was with him at SMU at the same time. And so they flew me up, and let me tell you, the old XFL, believe all the shenanigans that went on the stands. That was Sodom and Gomorrah for 3.5 hours at Soldier Field. And I have to admit, I enjoyed every stinking second of it because it was like a WEE Raw event that just happened in the stands where everybody was just thinking it was Woodstock. The premise was perfect. It's just that the networks bailed out on them so quick on that they couldn't get it done. But I had a really good time. So if they have any kind of production value like that, I might be inclined to go watch it from afar this time, since I'm a little bit older now. Oh, it's great. But hey, we're going to wrap it up here. I've got a couple of thumbs up, thumbs down here that I thought we'd try to end the show with here. I know we've gone a little bit late here, so we apologize for you guys. But, I mentioned this earlier already. My thumbs down is to the Yankee offense. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the only way we score is if they hit it out of the ballpark. It's 1 through 6. I mean, even Rizzo's even kind of had a little of that so far. I know it's early. Don't get me wrong. I know it's early. I understand all those factors. But again, the next run the Yankees create will be the first one. I mean, I would really like to see, somebody steal a bag every now and then, maybe hit to the right side when you got a leadoff double to get that guy to third base. I mean, it's almost like watching home run derby now. I'd look at the swings and I keep thinking, all right, who's up next? Who's the next contestant? Who's the next contestant? How are we going to hit? And it's just aggravating. And it's the same old story now for about 4 years. And I've hit the end of the rope about trying to see if there's actually going to be some form of change in that lineup. So that's my thumbs down for sure.
Well, I'm thumbs down on that too. I want old school baseball. It's got to come back around to some degree. I get some of it, but we could come up with too many ways. I've seen it mess teams up, and the Yankees are a great example of that. Are they too analytical? Yes, I think so. And look at the Mets. Obviously, it's kind of early. But
Yeah.
look at the success right now.
Yeah.
And I can promise you, Buck Showalter is not just doing things by the books.
No, I don't think so either. Oh, yeah, well, just look at that team a little farther north in Toronto. That's a young team. Do they have some swing and miss? Yeah, but that lineup puts the ball in play. I mean, they really put the ball in play. I think that's kind of what the Yankees want, but they're not going to get because they're too old. They're stuck in their ways in that lineup. They're not going to get there. You're not going to tell them 30.
That is. You know why that is? And it's not because they're north of the border. It's because a large portion of that team's dad played in the major league.
Yeah.
Or,
yeah.
I mean, and those guys were taught old school baseball. And so, shocker that we see them out there having a little bit more old school approach.
Yeah, even Vlad Larimore Sr., who swung at everything, still put the ball in play. He's not
Absolutely.
a strikeout leader guy. And that guy swung at balls that were going to the pitch to first base. I mean, so it's just, you're right. The approach with the older guys, Bichette, Biggio, Vlad,
Jr.'s father was one of the best Cuban players in history.
Right. Mondesi. So those guys know how to still, they may swing hard, maybe early in the count, but I even watched Bo Bichette against the Yankees when he was struggling last week. No, he actually did try to go up the middle when it was a 1-2 count. I don't see any Yankee trying to go back up through the box on a 1-2 count. They're always still trying to hit their pitch or wherever they think their strength is. That's what it's mind-boggling to me to just beat your head over that. And you know what's going to happen? They're going to win 12 out of 14 games, bombing the heck out of people. Everybody's going to say, oh, the vaulted Yankee offense is back. No, it's just they got hot and they ran into some more balls. And then when the good pitching comes around, come the end of September and October next year, and they bat 189 in the playoffs with 15 strikeouts, they're not going to go, oh, what's wrong with the Yankees? It's the same problem.
That's where we're going to see it. That's where we're going to see it, my friend. We're going to see it in the playoffs where the pitching is best, and they make playoffs. They've got enough.
You're pitching in, you're pitching in Fenway on a Tuesday night, and it's 38 degrees outside. It's 15-mile-an-hour wind. And you know what? That ball doesn't carry near as well as it does in July and August. It's like they call that a heavy ball. I said, there's a reason why Schilling and Pedro pitched so well in the playoffs. They threw a heavy ball. It didn't go anywhere, even when you middled up on that thing. So yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I do have a good thumbs up this week, though. I thought there was a great tribute that I did get to see with Jackie Robinson out at Chavez Ravine. That was really nice for them to have ex-old players come back out. All the comments about what Jackie had meant and everything. It was really nice. And for me, maybe I'm just a little nostalgic. Chavez Ravine still looks like just a temple to me, especially on a weekend night. It just something about the blue skies of LA, looking out that center field look, seeing those mountains, and those beautiful white jerseys of the Dodgers. I mean, it's picturesque. Having Vin Scully. There's so much to that. I mean, it didn't make me tear up, but it got me a little emotional, I should say. It didn't make the tears want to come out, but I was like, you know what? As bad as we like to say things are, we have come away in 75 years. Is there more work to be done? Absolutely. But there has been some steps along the way that make this pretty dang on good.
No, I totally agree. Absolutely. It's funny. We were talking about the Showalter and the analytics. Here's a little inside nugget of information that happened last year that I don't know who knows about or not. Shocker that all these swing and miss guys were struggling at the beginning of the year last year. Their team president, a man named Randy Levine,
Right.
who literally bases most of his decisions on what George Steinbrenner would have done, because that's who hired him. And he was George's personal attorney, and he's a great man. And
Great baseball family.
so he marches into Hal Steinbrenner's office after that bad start and says, look, what do you think your father would do right now in this situation? If he were in charge of this team, he'd be looking to hire Billy Martin with this bad start with the new manager, right? Well, Billy's not for hire anymore, but Buck Showalter is. Buck was actually one of my father's guys, and it's a long story, but and he's out there and he needs a job, and he's available. I think that's what your father would do. And Hal Steinbrenner thought about it for a long time. And finally said, I'm not my father. I'm going to stay the course. Of course, I wish the boss would have said that 4 or 5 times in his career, but and to Hal's credit, that team did turn it around and get on a roll later. But kind of interesting thought, and we'll see how long the analytics last.
Yes, yo, kid. Well, I do. I know that Jackie Robinson had some other, at other stadiums. I know they did a lot of tributes also to that there. I thought it was really great. I think that one of the, but I think that I failed to mention this. I probably shouldn't, but I think the forgotten one is Larry Dolby. We make this big thing about Jackie all the time, and I mean, he's the forgotten one that came next year to the Cleveland Indians and broke into the American League. If you remember, Branch Rickey really wanted to bring up Campanella and Donnie Newcomb and somebody else, right after Jackie. And he said no, because he said, hey, we need to get the other teams involved in this. He knew that, yes, these players are going to make our Dodger team really good, like right away. But he says, we need this movement to spread and hope that other teams would buy in and bring black players on the team. So, I mean, I tip my hat to Branch for having that kind of insight first, going into that kind of deal. But Larry Doby was just as important to the American League and to the city of Cleveland. I mean, heck, he went to the World Series in Cleveland, and I mean, it's amazing to me that Cleveland has not won a World Series in 73 years. I mean, that's a long time, man. I mean, it's a long time. But Dolby was on that last Cleveland team to get to the World Series there in the 50s. He, like I said, he just, he was a heck of a player too. He played, he got there late. He kind of got there in his mid-20s, but I mean, he was a heck of a player for several years for Cleveland. And, I want to tip my hat to him too, because I think he kind of gets forgotten a lot of times.
Absolutely, because he was going through the same crap Jackie was.
Absolutely.
And had to wear it. Think about how hard it is for anybody to wear insults.
Yeah.
But especially guys like this. These are warriors, right? These are strong dudes that, are definitely have not been walking through their life turning their cheek every time somebody talks to them like they got spoken to. And let alone coming from fans who aren't even
should get 45,000 new enemies every night, and you still got to go out and hit the baseball. The hardest thing to do in sports. You got, all right, I got 2 hits today, but tomorrow I've got 56,000 enemies. Gonna be raising hell to me all day long. And oh, by the way, Sunday we got a double header. I'm gonna have another 56,000 for 18 innings instead of 9, yelling insults at me the whole time. And oh, by the way, the other team doesn't like me either. So I got to worry about getting spiked, or getting elbowed.
Oh, and by the way, several players on my team.
Yeah, no kidding.
Just because of the color of my skin.
Yeah,
not because I'm an ass or a good guy. They don't care about that. Just because I look like this.
Yeah, I don't even have comfort in my own clubhouse. I got a petition in my clubhouse.
Yeah. I got to drink out of the other water fountain.
Can't eat with them. That's crazy. It's crazy.
It's hard to imagine the world we live in.
Oh, yeah.
We think we feel this or that in different moments, but what happened back then, what those guys saw, my father told me stories. He roomed with the first black player in the Pacific Coast League in 1948. And he and Artie Wilson were very close. And it's
mind-boggling.
My father took a lot of crap. My father took a lot of crap for volunteering to be his roommate.
Sure.
Can you imagine what kind of crap he took?
Well, he's Italian too in the 40s.
Well,
he's on top of it. So he took two non-popular stands right there.
That his brother was Irish. So, back when restaurants said Italians need not apply, will not serve Irish,
Right.
Yeah. Those days he lived through that too. And that's why he had such a heart for it, to be honest with you. He had a heart for that.
I think that was another reason why the blacks and the Latin players and Italians all seemingly would get along a lot, because they were all kind of cut from the same cloth, getting that grief from everybody else, saying that they don't belong, made them feel inferior, especially Latin players that couldn't speak the language that came over here. You look at, you just read the Roberto Clemente book. He tells you all about, how much fun, how people made fun of how he spoke the English language in the first place. And they made him think that he was aloof, where he was basically saying, I just didn't quite understand all that as a young player. So, I just didn't know. I'm coming from Nicaragua. We don't speak English there. We speak Spanish. So you guys are asking me all these questions. People are insulting me. I know that I'm supposed to be mad, but I don't know exactly what they're saying. They think I'm black. I'm not black. I'm Hispanic. But yes, I did want to give Larry Dolby some credit here too, though. I think that's one of the guys that gets forgotten in this. And as we said before, and I think you made a great point, we have made a lot of change. I know it was a lot harder for my dad. It was a lot harder for my grandfather than it was for me. So, things go in the right direction. Yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but let's not say that nothing. I think people say it's either all or nothing, and I think that's unfair on both sides, because there has been a lot of work. There has been a lot of change. Now, I know we need to change one thing. The next time that the Yankees have a managerial spot, maybe we can finally get a black manager over there in Yankee land. We've never had one. Now, I think we had two guys that would have been very good. Would have been Willie Randolph and Roy White, who both served as assistant coaches for the Yankees during that time. But
I thought you wanted a black guy. Now you're asking for Roy White.
Yeah, Roy. Well, I guess he's kind of black. Is he more Puerto Rican? I'm not sure. Me and my friend were talking about that late last night. I think he has some black in him. I'm not sure. I know it's not full for sure.
Okay, so the only racial joke I used to tell in the 90s was, or was it the 80s? I might have been the 80s. Bill White was the president of the National League.
Yes.
Okay.
Ex-Yankee.
And Bill was a black man, right?
Mhm.
Bobby Brown, the president of the American League.
Mhm.
And he was a white man. So I used to tell this joke, and as I was leaving a room sometimes, most people never got it. And I'd say, you know, White, who isn't, is the president of the National League, and Bobby Brown, who isn't either, is the president of the American League. And I just walk out of the room. And then I'd hear somebody about 5 minutes later go, I just got that. Oh my God. I got that. But they were two of the nicest men you will ever meet in your life. And we're both really close to my father. Bill and Dad were doing games together on the Yankee Network. Yes, network.
Mhm.
They were announcing games, and then Dad and Bobby played together.
Right.
And Bobby Brown was such an amazing man. He was going to medical school while playing third base for the New York Yankees. So he had to be late sometimes in spring training to finish medical school.
Mm-hmm.
And was a full-blown doctor and still played several years. And
nice career. Bill White.
What an amazing man.
Yep. I mean, they had better years in their careers, and that's still saying something, you know, later in life. But yeah. Yeah, they were huge. Wow. Yep. Well, hey, guys, we do appreciate you listening to us on episode number 31 of Balls to the Wall, my favorite hour in the week. I guess hour and 15 minutes this time, Billy. Sorry about that. I appreciate you, Billy, as always. We will be back with you guys next week on episode number 32, Balls to the Walls. Thank you guys so much, man. We enjoy it.